sweet friends, my name is Birdie and I'm your friendly neighborhood forest witch, and in today's video I am finally reviewing Entering Hecate's Cave, The Journey Through Darkness to Wholeness by Cindy Brannon. Now, I was originally supposed to have posted the review for this back in January. However, I didn't realize how extensive the book was, and I really wanted to work through the book and the shadow work as I read it. So that's why the video is now coming out in March. So I apologize for that. But if you would like to pick up a copy of this book, I will leave a link down in the description. Definitely go check that out. But without further ado, let's finally get into the review of this book. Brannon is actually a social psychologist, and in her book she delves into Hekate, the underworld, and shadow work through not only a magical lens but also a psychological one via depth psychology. And fun fact, when I first entered college almost 2 decades ago now, holy cow, like where has the time gone? But my degree focus was originally psychology instead of business and creative writing, which are the two subjects I actually have bachelor's degrees in. So psychology is a strong passion of mine, and I was really interested in learning how depth psychology can be intertwined with my magical practice while crafting shadow work. Now, according to Brannon, to enter Hecate's cave is to embark on the journey back to the soul and embracing the shadow within. So in depth psychology, the concept of wholeness implies that we are intentionally integrating the shadow with the soul. So Brannon states, when we are at a crossroads or already in the underworld, Hekate can rise up out of the deeper world, showing up in the cracks of our lives. She sends her missionaries, angels, and hungry ghosts alike to do her bidding. They occupy our dreams, invade our imaginations, and drop their uncanny hints until we pay them heed. Although their faces vary and their methods may be disparate, their message is always the same: wake up. They intrude on our quiet minds until we hear them speak. And when we do, they tell us stories that unsettle us. They bring back the past, show us our own faults, and generally shake us to the core. That is the work of Hekate in action. She scares the life back into us. She is the spirit of the sacred feminine that calls us to embark on the journey of the soul. Then she goes on to discuss that we journey toward healing and understanding by entering the mysteries of the deeper world. The journey is inherently feminine, which is to say that it is associated with the traditional energies associated with this principle as far as intuition, introspection, and emotions. This journey is one of reclaiming the soul through encounters with Hekate and with the numinous, or more commonly known as the transcendent. So the Swiss psychologist Carl Jung referred to numinous as all that which is beyond everyday life. It is symbolic and archetypical. Transcendence occurs when we venture into the numinous, temporarily going beyond the limits of our regular existence. So with that being said, Brannon actually has each chapter in her book focus on a different archetype, while also weaving in sound psychological techniques for healing and wholeness. And I'll put up a list of each of the archetypes on the screen here so you can see what all she goes over in her book. But if you're not familiar with archetypes, they are ancient titles of Hekate that are contributed to her and to many other expressions of the sacred feminine. These archetypes contextualize her place within mythology and other imaginative sources. Now, I'm not going to go into detail about each archetype because then this video would be way too long, but Brannon also mentions that Hecate's many epithets are archetypes as well. For example, Hekate is the keeper of the keys, the archetype of the divine one who guards the gates of the journey inward. She is also the torchbearer who carries the spirit of the light and darkness, the inner flame, and the primordial fire. So let's briefly go over those two. So as you may already know, the ancients performed important rituals in caves, but this was perhaps symbolizing the mother's great uterus. The waters that gush forth are the force that fuels life, death, and everything in between. So inspired by these ancient rites, Brandon developed a series of 3 gates through which seekers pass on their way to wholeness. These gates focus our energy on the 3 key components of psycho-spiritual healing, which are catharsis, retrieval, and renewal. So the gate of catharsis is traversed by letting go of what burdens us, thereby creating space for what we've lost along our journey. Then the next gate is the gate of retrieval, and that's where we retrieve parts of ourselves that may have become lost. And then finally, the last gate is the gate of rebirth, where we reemerge from the interior womb of healing. Now, Hekate is the keeper of the keys to these gates, and in essence, our soul. So as we come to the river that leads to the cave, which is the start of our shadow work journey, we hear those keys rattling and know that we have a decision to make. Do we refuse to pass through the gate, or do we embark on a journey inward? In addition, there are many ancient titles assigned to Hekate that illustrate her role as a goddess who lights the way, and her twin torches are one of her most iconic symbols. In the historical record, when Hekate arrived with her torch blazing, it was a sign that all would be well in the end. At times, she would also use her torches in mythical battles, like the one led by Zeus against the Titans. She also used them to light up an ancient city so that potential martyrs were prevented from attacking. Usually, however, Hecate's appearance with her torches blazing was not connected to battle, but rather as a sign of her role as guide. Then, in addition to delving into each of the archetypes, Brandon also provides several rituals and practica as you make your way through Hecate's cave. She also suggests certain crystals and tools that you can use as well. For example, a Cista Mystica. The Cista Mystica, also known as the Sacred Box, is a container to hold your symbols, sigils, and other objects. Now, Brandon suggests creating your own Cista Mystica as a sacred container for the symbols that come to you through your own cave journey, and marking the completion of each chapter of her book by choosing a symbol representing that progress in your journey and adding it to your container. So I thought it would be fun to show you how I created mine and some of the items that I placed inside it. Now, the form and design of your Cista Mystica is entirely up to you. Some use a shoebox or a trinket box. However, I found this mini wooden 3-drawer box at Hobby Lobby, and I thought it would work perfect for this. So let's get into how I decorated it and what's inside. So this is how my Cista Mystica turned out. As you see, it just looks kind of vintage and plain, but I really like it like that. And especially if you're still in the broom closet, you might also want to do it like this as well. But you can definitely add symbols or sigils on the outside, anything that represents your journey. So I glued the little key up there for the keeper of the keys, Hekate. I thought that was really cute. And this will go really well with my decor at the witch's cottage. So I might just keep this in the living room as I continue to work on my shadow work. Now, this isn't necessary, but since my Cista Mystica has 3 drawers, I split it up into past, present, and future. Now, normally a Cista Mystica is just one one box without separators like this, so you can put all your symbols together. But I thought it would be nice, since there's 3 separate drawers, you know, why not? So as far as my symbols for the past, these are it here. Now, I'm not going to delve into what these symbols mean to me, since they are personal things that have happened in my past, but I did still want to show you the items that I will be putting in the drawer for my past. Now for my present symbols, I have a few things as I work through my present shadow work. So the first is a black ant, and black ants represent happiness, peace, and loss, and they also bring good fortune and luck. And just as a side note, red ants represent bad omens, so you'll definitely want a black ant if you choose that as one of your symbols. And then I also have a caterpillar, which represents good luck and fortune, but for me it also represents transformation, and you'll see why when I show you my symbols for the future. Then I also have an acorn. Now, the oak tree in general represents strength, longevity, and endurance, but the acorn itself represents potential, growth, and prosperity. So I thought that was a really good symbol to add to my present. And then I picked up this cute little tarot deck from Five Below a few weeks ago. So for my present box, I pulled out the tarot card for strength, and this represents confidence, inner strength, potency, self-belief, virility, and vitality. And then I also my husband just got me a pussy willow tree for Valentine's Day, and some of the buds had fell off, and I looked up the meaning of the pussy willow, and actually they mean a human's capability to withstand hardship, loss, and difficult emotions. So I thought that would be perfect for my present. Then I also have some Himalayan salt for healing. And then last but not least, I have this little stone that I had found out foraging a while back, and I just drew a little rune on it, and this rune is from the Futhark runic alphabet, and it's the one for Avis, which means transformation, rebirth, and cycle change. So I thought those were really good as well. And then last but not least is my future symbols. So in Brandon's book, she speaks a lot about the snake, and as we go through the journey within Hecate's cave, establishing a hard back, because the snakes have that hard shell-like scales on their back then, but also having that soft belly that snakes have as well. But snakes in general represent fertility or a creative life force, and as they shed their skin, they are symbols of rebirth, transformation, immortality, and healing. So this is a great symbol for my future drawer. Now, the butterfly, I spoke of the caterpillar in my present drawer. So in my future drawer, I have this little butterfly, and they represent the power of transformation and the incredible feats we can achieve when we trust ourselves. Then I also have this little clock here. Now, clocks represent the passage of time and the inevitability of death. So with life, of course, death is inevitable. So I thought that would be perfect for my future drawer, just as a reminder that with life, there is also death. But this little locket here also has a butterfly on the front and then the zodiacs on the back. So I really like that. And then the 4-leaf clover here. Now, if you've watched my channel for a while, you'll know that I absolutely love Ireland and everything to do with Ireland. So I wanted to incorporate a 4-leaf clover, not only for its symbolism of hope, faith, love, and luck, but also as a reminder of my journey through the druidry that I'm on right now. So that's why I added that. And then I also have this little cauldron here, and cauldrons represent the goddess and the womb. And also on your altar, it can represent the earth element as well. Then I also have the Hierophant Tarot card. Now, this card is my absolute favorite, and I spoke about this a little in a past Q&A video that I did. But according to my favorite tarot deck, the Ethereal Visions Illuminated Tarot deck, it says, the Hierophant is the physical embodiment of institution. He interprets secret knowledge to share within the formal rigid system. When seeking knowledge, he will guide you to discovery through established educational structures and traditions. So upright, he stands for tradition, guidance, spirituality, orthodoxy, and institution. So I thought that was really appropriate for my future drawer as well. Now that I've given a synopsis of the book and we've crafted our own Cista Mystica, let's get into my review. So Brennan gives, I'd say, a thorough breakdown of not only Hekate, but also each of her archetypes. I also liked that she gives practica and rituals, and I'd have to say they are beginner friendly and useful in crafting your shadow work. However, she does speak about some things that may be triggering to some, but she doesn't offer a trigger warning. Now, as a sexual violence survivor myself, I know how hard it can be to read something and not be aware of, some triggers that are in there, and then be taken aback and totally have your day taken away from you. So I do advocate for trigger warnings because of that, but please be aware of this before reading this book, especially since there's not a trigger warning. She does speak about some sexual trauma that she has personally had. Now, I also found the book to be a bit repetitive throughout. There were, I'd say, not specific sections, but throughout the entire book, I just felt like she was being repetitive in some of the things that she was saying, and that it wasn't as crisp as it could have been. Now, that's definitely a nitpick. If you've watched my book reviews in the past, I also nitpick on things like that. But I love the psychological aspect of the book, like I figured I would, and the plethora of resources she referenced throughout the book. She has numerous historical references, and also, of course, the Swiss psychologist Carl Jung. So I absolutely love that. So all in all, I definitely have to rate this probably, I was going back and forth between a 3 and a 4, but since I have been sitting on this book for, I'd say maybe a week now, I think my 3 is now a 4, only because I feel like she did a lot of research on this, and I love how the psychological aspect intertwined with the magical. I really love that, because in my opinion, magic has always been a mixture between science and psychology for me. So I really like that aspect of the book. But that is it for this witchy book review. I hope you all enjoyed it. Now for March's witchy book review, I will be reading Mist-Filled Path, Celtic Wisdom for Exiles, Wanderers, and Seekers by Frank McEwen. So I will leave a link in the description down below to where you can pick a copy up of this if you'd like to read it along with me. Now, this review will probably be at the end of March, so definitely come back for that. But thank you all so much for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, friends. Bye.